Several hours passed, and I remained near my window gazing on the sea. It was almost motionless, for the winds were hushed and all nature reposed under the eye of the quiet moon. I felt the silence, although I was hardly conscious of its extreme profundity, until my ear was suddenly arrested by the paddling of oars near the shore, and a person landed close to my house. In a few minutes after, I heard the creaking of my door as if someone endeavored to open it softly. I trembled from head to foot. I was overcome by the sensation of helplessness, so often felt in frightful dreams when you in vain endeavor to fly from an impending danger and was rooted to the spot. Presently, I heard the sound of footsteps along the passage. The door opened, and the wretch whom I dreaded appeared. Shutting the door, he approached me and said in a smothered voice,
"You have destroyed the work which you began. What is it that you intend? Do you dare to break your promise? I have endured toil and misery, incalculable fatigue and cold and hunger. Do you dare destroy my hopes?"
"Begone! I do break my promise. Never will I create another like yourself, equal in deformity and wickedness."
You believe yourself miserable, but I can make you so wretched that the light of day will be hateful to you. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey.
The hour of my weakness is past, and the period of your power is arrived. Your threats cannot move me to do an act of wickedness. Shall I, in cool blood, set loose upon the earth a demon whose delight is in death and wretchedness? Begone!
Your hours will pass in dread and misery, and soon the bolt will fall which must ravish from you your happiness forever. Are you to be happy while I grovel in the intensity of my wretchedness? Beware, for I am fearless. You shall repent of the injuries you inflict. I go, but I shall be with you on your wedding night."
All was again silent, but his words rung in my ears. Why had I not followed him and closed with him in mortal strife? I shuddered to think who might be the next victim sacrificed to his insatiate revenge. And then I thought again of his words,
"I shall be with you on your wedding night."
In that hour I should die, and at once satisfy and extinguish his malice. The next morning at daybreak, I summoned sufficient courage and unlocked the door of my laboratory. The remains of the half-finished creature I had destroyed lay scattered on the floor, and I almost felt as if I had mangled the living flesh of a human being. With trembling hand I conveyed the instruments out of the room, but I reflected that I ought not to leave the relics of my work to excite the horror and suspicion of the peasants, and I accordingly put them into a basket, with a great quantity of stones, and laying them up, determined to throw them into the sea that very night. Between 2 and 3 in the morning the moon rose, and I then, putting my basket aboard a little skiff, sailed out about 4 miles from the shore. The scene was perfectly solitary. I took advantage of the darkness and cast my basket into the sea. I listened to the gurgling sound as it sunk, and stretched myself at the bottom of the boat. I heard the sound of the boat as its keel cut through the waves. The murmur lulled me, and in a short time, I slept soundly. I do not know how long I remained in this situation, but when I awoke I found that the sun had already mounted considerably. The waves continually threatened the safety of my little skiff. I found that the wind must have driven me far from the coast from which I had embarked. I had already been out many hours and felt the torment of a burning thirst, a prelude to my other sufferings. I looked upon the sea. It was to be my grave. Fiend, your task is already fulfilled. Some hours passed thus, but by degrees, as the sun declined towards the horizon, the wind died away into a gentle breeze, and the sea became free from breakers. But these gave place to a heavy swell. I felt sick, and hardly able to hold the rudder, when suddenly I saw a line of high land towards the south. How mutable are our feelings, and how strange is that clinging love we have of life, even in the excess of misery. I easily perceived the traces of cultivation, and found myself suddenly transported back to the neighborhood of civilized man. As I was occupied in fixing the boat, several people crowded towards the spot. They seemed very much surprised at my appearance, but instead of offering me any assistance, whispered together with gestures that at any other time might have produced in me a slight sensation of alarm. "My good friends, will you be so kind as to tell me the name of this town and inform me where I am?" "You will know that soon enough. Maybe you're come to a place that will not prove much to your taste. But you will not be consulted as to your quarters, I promise you." "Why do you answer me so roughly? Surely it is not the custom of Englishmen to receive strangers so inhospitably." "I do not know what the custom of the English may be, but it is the custom of the Irish to hate villains. Come, sir, you must follow me to Mr. Corwin's to give an account of yourself." "Who is Mr. Corwin?" "Mr. Corwin is a magistrate, and you are to give an account of the death of a gentleman who was found murdered here last night." This answer startled me, but I presently recovered myself. I was innocent, that could easily be proved. Accordingly, I followed my conductor in silence, and was led to one of the best houses in the town. Little did I then expect the calamity that was in a few moments to overwhelm me, and extinguish in horror and despair all fear of ignominy or death.